Welcome to the BumbleKast, everyone. I'm your host, Ian Flynn, the Bumble King, and joining me as always is that co-host on a half shell, Kyle Kraus.
Cowabunga! What's up,
or
Ian?
as the kids are saying these days, booyakasha.
They could say both.
I prefer Cowabunga myself, but anyway.
Me too.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Tired. We're recording this at a very early hour compared to our normal recording time. It's very strange. It's very awkward for, a little bit of inside baseball for the people out there. We usually record in the evenings, but now we're recording in the morning. It's weird.
Yeah, well, our weeks are usually a lot more tame than our past weeks have been. So
it's very true. It's very true. It's been a busy time.
It has, but I don't think it's anything we need to bother these people with. Has there been anything fun on your end?
Anything fun? Oh, yes. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 last week.
I have not seen that yet. How was it?
It's a very rare occurrence for me to go see a movie on opening weekend. But the opportunity presented itself, so I took it. And it is fantastic.
Excellent. I've heard lukewarm reviews so far.
Really? Oh, it's a lot of fun. That's really the main thing. It's just fun. It's really character driven. The plot's kind of thin. There isn't much to it plot wise, but the character interactions and the character growth throughout the movie is really strong, and the way they interact with each other is, it's nice. It's nice. It's nice to have a good character movie once in a while. Don't have to worry too much about the plot.
Yeah.
It's just people having fun with each other. Or people fighting with each other. Or a baby tree dancing around with all the action happening behind him. That's fun.
Really? Do you need anything more than that baby tree?
It's true. I do like Baby Groot. He's fun. But I hope they're not going to keep playing up his presence too much. It seems like they are at least going to move on in the next one. And have him grow up a bit, but he's been a marketing machine for this movie, so I don't know. They may decide, okay, we made a ton of money off of Baby Groot stuff. We need more Baby Groot.
Turns out money really does grow on trees.
It turns out it actually does. Yes. But Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun, and it doesn't fit in with the main Marvel universe, as in, what happens in it is completely so far removed from what's going on that it doesn't even matter. I guess I could spoil for you by saying that Thanos is nowhere in it at all.
Really?
But, we do have Gamora and Nebula. So there's still a bit of a connection there, but no Thanos at all. But, Stan Lee makes a cameo and actually is now a part of the story.
I think I ran into a spoiler about that. I'm trying to ignore it, fingers in my ears, la 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 la, and save myself. But
right,
I don't know.
But
people seem to be getting worse and worse about spoilers lately.
Yeah, it's been pretty bad. So I'm trying to keep him to a minimum. But he does apparently have an actual point for all of his cameos. They've actually come up with a story reason for him to exist. So it's interesting, and I'm wondering how and what that's going to lead into as far as the Infinity War movies that are coming up here pretty soon. Couple years. We got to get Captain Marvel movie first, which I'm looking forward to.
I thought Captain Marvel was scheduled after the Infinity War movies.
Nope, I don't think so. It leads into them.
Okay.
It might be the movie that leads directly into them, actually, now that I think about it.
Well, regardless, I am greatly anticipating Black Panther out of pretty much all the ones that are coming up.
I am looking forward to that one too. Thor Ragnarok also looks like fun.
Yeah, that'll be a fun popcorn flick. But I don't know, out of all the new characters after the current wave, he is the most intriguing. I want to see Wakanda. I want to see what they're going to do with him because, God, he was a badass.
Yeah, that's. I am definitely looking forward to that too. What have you been up to, Ian?
Oh, mostly organizing on my end. There was, in case you missed it over on my website, I had the story posted where we have these big underground storage lockers, basically mesh cages next to each other, so where you can put all the crap that you can't put in a regular unit because we're hoarding animals by nature, I guess. And pretty much everything was in there the same as it had been since I moved in 4 years ago. And the cardboard boxes that my parents had given me from their last, I don't know, however many moves ago, were starting to fall apart. So I did the measurements. I went out and got some plastic tubs and came back and started organizing and shifting things around and playing human Tetris and, feeling all accomplished. And then the lights go out. Now, this is a basement.
Yeah.
No windows.
Very dark.
Only hissing pipes, solid concrete that muffles all sound, and rattly mesh cages that go rattle, rattle, rattle when you bump into them. Because the only light is the baleful red glow of the exit lights. So the rational part of my brain was going, this is going to suck because I got to climb 16 floors to my unit, get a lantern, go back down, and hopefully be able to get back in because the whole thing is, magnetic locked.
Well, let's be fair. It's only like 13 floors, but still.
True. Actually, I guess it's more like 12 because we don't have any floors with the number 4 in them.
Oh, okay. That's right. I was going to say.
There's a large Asian population in our area, and 4 is a taboo number, so there's no 4th floor, no 14th floor, etc.
Right.
So the irrational part of my brain is going, okay, this is when the zombies come, and you're surrounded by garbage. You are going to die. So I start making my way to the exit, and the lights come back on. I'm like, oh, I guess it was just a hiccup in the power. No problem, I'll go finish up. I'm packing, and I'm rearranging, and sorting, and the lights go out again. Rational part of my brain's going, this is dumb, I should have gotten the lantern while I had a chance. Irrational part of my brain is going, okay, now this is on purpose. This is someone's experiment. Now the zombies come out. So we repeat this cycle 2 or 3 more times. I try to go to the exit, the lights come back on. I debate whether or not I want to get the lantern, go back and start putting these away. It isn't until like the 3rd or 4th time that I remember they're not going to light up the basement 24/7 with nobody down there. That's a waste of power. There's motion sensor lights. You come down, they turn on, you leave. I was out of range of the motion sensor, except when I went to the exit.
You have a very active imagination, sir. Has anybody ever told you that?
Well, when you seriously plot the course of talking animals for 10 years, yeah, you kind of lose your grip on reality.
Oh, okay. It makes sense then.
So that was my adventure.
Or maybe it was just Aaliyah coming down there and flipping the light switch and messing with you.
I would take that one because then it's not me being dumb. That's me being pranked.
Yeah. She might do that too, just to mess with you.
I've also been having fun on Twitter. I'm running a unofficial, just for funsies, best Sonic Universe arc ever tournament. We're approaching the end of it by the time this episode comes out, but if you have a Twitter account, go on over and vote at Ian Flynn BKC. And it's been interesting to see which arcs have been kind of tied neck and neck, which ones have been coming out on top. And I don't know, it'll be nice to see what the people vote for. At the very least, it's been a nice little ego boost with people going, oh yeah, I loved this one. Or, man, this is a hard choice. They were all so good. It's like, oh, thank you.
Go vote for Spark of Life. I'm going to be that guy and say, vote for the one Ian didn't write. You know I love you anyway.
Yeah.
But Spark of Life.
It was a good arc.
Spark of Life. Yes. Go vote for that one. I think that's in the newest poll as of this recording, at least.
Yep, as of this recording, but it'll be done by the time this show comes out. So.
Aw, man.
Fingers crossed.
Anyway, go vote for Spark of Life anyway. Just write Spark of Life in for all the polls. I know that doesn't count, but you can still do it. You can make it happen. Make it happen, people.
Speaking of comics, for a while now, we've had the BumbleRaffle, a contest where you can win an autographed comic from me. And we've had quite the stockpile we've been going through. And we are actually down to our last 3 copies.
Ooh.
Now, after those 3 copies are gone, we will be a new set of prizes, in part because tracking down individual issues is a little tricky, and because as we've discovered, we have fans of the BumbleKast all over the world. United Kingdom, where was the one from? Scandinavia?
I think we've had one from there.
Norway?
I believe we've had a Polish listener.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I can't remember. Point is, shipping and handling has been a bit of a bear. So we're going to be moving to something digital, and we'll be giving you a choice. But we'll get into all those details later, because right now we still have books to give away on the BumbleRaffle. Now, if you want to enter, either be a patron at patreon.com/BumbleKast. You're automatically entered into every single draw. Or just email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com. You have to enter in for every single show, but you get the same ranking and chances as everybody else. So, this episode's winner is...
Frobman!
I would prefer Frobman.
Or maybe Frobman. It could be Frobman, could be Frobman.
Regardless, they're a winner.
It's like Spider-Man or Spider-Man.
Nobody says Spider-Man, come on.
I say Spider-Man. Just to annoy people, it works. See? I told you.
I have a package here for Peter Spider-Man.
Yes.
Peter Spider-Man, are you around?
Peter Spider-Man. Maybe that's what happens in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yes.
Anyway, congratulations. We'll get in contact with you and find out where we're going to be sending that book off to.
Read that book, Frobman or Frobman. Whatever. I'm not sure which. So,
the topic of today's episode is one you've been wanting to get to for a while now.
Yeah, we've brought it up several times in the past.
And I, being the jerk I am, said, no, we'll do something else.
Yes. Or there was something more time pertinent, time sensitive, or something. You know, we've just been holding off on it. This was our rainy day topic, and it's not raining where I am, but that's okay.
It's overcast here. Anyway, we're talking about the latest incarnation of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Nickelodeon 2012 show, which at this point is more of 2017, been going for 5 years, but you get the point.
It's the 5th season of the 2012 TMNT.
There we go.
They still call it the 2012 series, since, that's when it started. Makes sense.
So, in your opinion?
It's a very good show. I was wonderfully surprised. I don't know why I was surprised necessarily. I guess I wasn't surprised so much as just, it's just a wonderful show. I watched it on yours and Aaliyah's recommendation, and it was worth it. So, what do you think of the show?
Like you, I was pleasantly surprised at the start.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that endeared it to me a lot was that the intro song was a remix of the original 80s one, which flipped every nostalgia switch in my body. And the characterization of the turtles, especially Leonardo, because Leonardo seems to really become stale very fast in a lot of, and not just in the cartoons, but in pretty much any incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, he's the serious leader. Boo. This one made him an absolutely endearing, adorable try-hard, and I love it. Problem I have with it is it seemed to really lose itself around the Triceraton arc.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. It was went a little bit off the rails there. It's just kind of strange, like weird pacing. And then they just came back to, at the end of it all, they just came back and it was just a big reset button anyway. So, which I kind of expected, but
yeah.
still.
I don't know. I kind of feel like they missed, well, the whole thing was a lot of missed opportunities. Like April getting the weird mind crystal, which I don't think they've ever sufficiently addressed.
No, they had the one episode where she was just getting really angry all the time because, you know, that's what females do, apparently.
Yeah, well, crystals will do that to you.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of the space adventures kind of seemed pointless, although I really did like how they introduced Mona Lisa.
Yeah, actually, she was a really good character. I wish she'd come back.
And I feel like, because right before the Triceraton thing started, they introduced Renette and her time travel powers.
Yeah.
And the whole reason she shows up is because the turtles are destined to be these world-renowned heroes.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Triceratons invade, which makes it pretty clear that humanity is not alone if the Krang invasion didn't already prove the point. The turtles and the other mutants openly on the street fighting them, and then the world gets blown up. So I knew there'd be a reset, but I figured, okay, so ultimately Renette will bring them back in time. They'll not make the mistakes they did, and they'll be the heroes, and who knows where they'll go from there. And we didn't do that at all. Renette hasn't shown up again. It's like,
Renette showed up Renette showed up like once, and then they're like, okay, bye. Just kind of wrote her off. It's weird.
I am surprised by the level of gruesome horror that the series has gotten away with.
Season 5 especially has been kind of brutal. It's like, holy crap. This is getting dark.
I mean, the first time they killed Splinter, it was pretty shocking, and
yeah,
Muckman alone was hard to look at. Mm-hmm. Most of the mutants who were not, primary characters were rather grotesque. The alien impersonating April's mom?
Yeah.
Shoot, the entire horror shout-out arc when they were at the farmhouse, every one of those was honestly disturbing.
Yeah, it's really surprising what they've gotten away with in this show. For the better, I think.
But it also got us the Dream Beavers episode, and that's one of the funniest things in the world.
It's very true. It's very true.
Now, I remember you saying that there were some aspects that you weren't as fond of, some interpretations they had.
Well, I'm just kind of annoyed at the treatment of some of the side characters, especially female characters. They just tend to get kind of, either written off or like they're directionless. Like they couldn't really figure out what they wanted to do with Karai for the longest time. And then they just turned her into a mutant and then wrote her off the show for like almost a whole season. Mm-hmm. And that was really weird to me. I'm just like, what are they doing? And then April. I like April as a character. But they just didn't seem to know what to do with her either. Mm-hmm. I think they got lost. They're like, okay, April is part of the original show, so we need to have her in this show. But what's she going to do? So I think they got kind of lost with her. She's gotten better now, but I don't know. It's just interesting how they've treated some of the characters. Casey kind of seems to go back and forth a bit. Like they kind of know what to do with him, but then they kind of just shove him off to the side because he's not actually a trained fighter. So they, write him out of there or whatever. They don't seem to have a whole lot for him to do sometimes. Either.
Right, the power creep for him just kind of
just left him left him behind.
I don't know. I give them points for doing something new and different with Casey, having him be kind of a inventor, but not quite to Don's level, being this kind of scrappy street punk rather than the angered issues 90s vigilante.
Yeah.
But I really don't like Casey Jones in this. There's been a few episodes where it's like, okay, I will accept him. He's all right. But overall, when Casey's on the screen, it's like, oh, another character could be here, and it would be better.
He's a little. I'd say he's a little obnoxious. Sometimes he's pretty funny, but a lot of times he's he's fulfilling the same role as Mikey in a lot of ways, but he's not nearly as funny or as endearing.
Right.
So,
And April, I enjoy that they're doing different stuff with her, but it doesn't feel like they've ever brought it to fruition. Like the whole thing that she's technically a mutant Krang, that's really interesting. She's now a mutant. She can use that as something to bond with the turtles over, or something that kind of drives her away because her perception of herself has been severely altered, and they never address it.
Yeah, they don't really do that at all. And then, all this stuff with her dad.
Yeah,
her father
that just kind of like went away.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing. She doesn't even like think about the fact that she used to have parents anymore. It's really awkward.
And, you might say it's a Ninja Turtles cartoon. Stop overanalyzing it. But
Sure.
Here's the thing. When it's on, when it's really hitting on all cylinders,
Yes,
it's a really impressively written show. Really tightly done, and really raises the bar. It's found this nice middle ground of the goofiness from the 80s, the seriousness of the 2004 series, the hodgepodge of the tones from the various comics, and for a while had this perfect balance of something that was for children but enjoyable by everyone and worked on multiple levels. So when it falls short, it's really jarring because they can do so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's like with Karai. Karai has actually been really strong for this season so far, for season 5.
Mm-hmm.
I've liked her a lot, but before they really had a tough time dealing with her. I think they couldn't figure out what to do, and then they just got rid of her for a while, but then brought her back. And it seems like the whole mutant thing with her was kind of ended up being kind of pointless.
Yeah,
They make her transform on occasion now, but it's just kind of like another power in her arsenal thing, which I guess would signify character growth, but they just don't really do much with it.
you have to bring a lot to the table to make it work.
Yes. Now I will say I do love Shinigami.
Mm-hmm. She's a lot of fun.
Yes, and her design is excellent. I love her design. She doesn't have much character. She's not done a whole lot yet, but I like her a lot. Just from a design standpoint, I think she's really cool, and I do like her interactions with Karai.
I mean, she's a supporting character to more or less a supporting character, so I can forgive there not being a ton to her because she's mostly there as something to accentuate.
Exactly, but they've given Karai a little bit more prominence, so I think she's I think she's kind of moved up to semi-main character. But either way, yeah, Shinigami's great.
The thing that bugged me the most about Karai's utilization in the show, aside of everything you've already covered, was that up to a point, the power creep in the show was very, very consistent. The turtles were well trained. They were able to handle the foot. Then you get Dog Pound and Fish Face into the mix, and they're a bit much, but they learn to overcome. And yet, in every single encounter with the Shredder, they barely survive. That was freaking cool. I love that. Karai shows up. She can whoop all of them by herself. They start to learn. They start to grow. They're able to hold their own against her, but she is still a high-ranking badass. And then the minute they need her out of the way, she's getting taken out really easy.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that a lot with a lot of the characters, actually.
It's gotten worse as the seasons have gone on. And it's like, okay, we need these guys to be awesome. They can do no wrong. We need them to lose. They're idiots. It's like, ugh. And again, it's because everything was so tight at the beginning. It hurts when it, misfires. Yeah,
the turtles are like, they're either like dominating or they are just getting completely whooped. There doesn't seem to be much of a middle ground with them at this point.
All this kvetching aside, it's still a fantastic show. The voice cast is spot on.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
The fight scenes, some of them especially, are just amazing. They're wonderful to behold.
Yeah, the animation is actually really strong.
I think this is one of my favorite incarnations of the Shredder.
I still like my '80s Uncle Phil shredder, but I'll take this one too. It's fine.
And I think this is my single favorite version of Splinter.
Oh yes, yes. Now it's kind of funny. Fun fact: the voice of Splinter in this show is also the trainer of Danny Rand in Iron Fist, the TV show.
Oh.
Yeah, the Netflix series. He's only in one episode, but as soon as he started talking, I'm like, wait, what is Splinter doing in this show? Is Splinter Danny Rand's teacher too? It's like, it turns out, yes.
Well, the turtles are well taken care of. It's time to move on.
So it would explain why Danny Rand's such a jerk in the show. Because Splinter's kind of abusive. He's kind of a jerk to the turtles.
He's a very proactive teacher.
He is. I don't. I'm not criticizing his style. I guess it's just like, man, you're mean. he's sometimes he's mean, and but I think he's generally a nice guy. It's just kind of like, man, he doesn't pull any punches with his own sons. It's pretty rough.
He's firm but caring. And that's a very difficult balance to write.
Yes, indeed, it is.
I think one of my favorite lessons he did is when Donnie is being a little too pushy with April. And Splinter goes, come on, we're going to go practice falling. And he just throws Donnie all over the dojo. He says, are you enjoying it yet? It's like, no, you can't enjoy something just because you come back to it over and over again. Oh, I see what you're trying to show me here.
Yeah. I love Donnie in this show. I absolutely do. It get a little weird when they were trying to write him as being like completely enamored with April, but it was okay. It worked out, and ultimately they've kind of sidelined that for the most part. So, but it might just be because also I love Rob Paulson. So,
well, yeah, because Rob Paulson is amazing.
Yes, he truly is, and it's funny because he's been playing Ninja Turtles since like '87.
Yep.
But he's so much better as a voice for Donnie than for Raph. It makes so much more sense for him to be the voice of Donnie.
Now, when they did the crossover episode between the '80s and the 2012 version,
yeah, they brought everyone back, which was excellent. He
came back to do his old Raphael voice.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, he actually sought out the blessing of the other Raphael voice actor from that era to say, look, you have just as much claim to this role as I do. It'd be greedy to be voicing two characters. Do you want this spot before I take it? And the guy apparently said, nope, go for it. That's the joke.
Yeah. Were there two voice actors for that?
Yes.
Cartoon?
Shoot, I can't remember who the other one was or at what point they transitioned between the two. But I do distinctly remember when it happened because it's like, wait, why is Raphael's voice wrong?
Yeah. What do you think about the two Leonardo voices?
I really enjoyed how they lampshaded it. I thought it's Seth Green doing the voice currently, right?
Yes.
I think he does a good job, far better than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that they addressed it in, the fact that he got so brutalized by Shredder that his voice box got warped.
Yeah, actually, I think that works out pretty decently. It's interesting the different ways that some shows will lampshade a voice change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but Mystery Science Theater 3000 has gone through several cast changes. Right. And a lot of times, I mean, it's usually just the robots who get their voices changed, so they're just like, oh yeah, I changed his voice box just for fun. But sometimes it's like, oh, well, I was an energy being for thousands of years, and my voice changes every 7 years because it was season 8 at the time. So, so my voice is different now. It's silly, but it works. It works, and I think in this show it makes a bit more sense, at least compared to the comedy take on MST3K's version of that. But
sure. And again, this is going back to when I was talking about how tightly it was done, because they acknowledge it,
Yeah.
but they don't belabor the point.
Yeah, they don't dwell on it.
It actually feels like a plot point. And if you are someone in your 30s watching a children's cartoon, you're like, I see what you did there, and you move on.
Yes. It's although Seth Green's voice is distracting for me because I know it's Seth Green. I guess that's the problem. I'm just like, whenever you cast like famous people in voice actor roles, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's that person. I know that. I know who that person is.
Well, are you distracted that Raphael is Samwise Gamgee?
No. You think I would be, but no. It's just weird. I think because Raphael doesn't sound like Samwise Gamgee, but Leonardo sounds like Seth Green.
Yeah, he does, but I feel like he does a good job trying not to sound like Seth Green. It sounds like he's making the effort.
He doesn't sound exactly like Seth Green, but it's definitely noticeable. I think that's just where I'm getting crossed up, but it's like I can tell also when like certain voice actors, I can tell like April is Mae Whitman. I know who Mae Whitman is. I know who she's played. I know she was Katara in Avatar. I know she was one of the 7 evil exes in Scott Pilgrim, the movie. I know she's been in some other stuff, but I'm still able to kind of know it's like, okay, that's April. But for Leo, it's like, okay, you are Seth Green. It's just weird. It's just weird.
Now, this one seems to be one of the more divisive points. Where do you stand on Rocksteady and Bebop?
I like Rocksteady. Bebop is hit and miss sometimes, I think. Really? I don't know. What do you think about him?
Well, I'm always a sucker for the big Russian heavy weapons guy trope.
Yeah,
So having Rocksteady, the large man with heavy hammer sickle in mitten glove, what you call knuckles. There we are. That is word. Yeah. That's always fun. Yeah. I actually really like Bebop.
Bebop is fun. I will not deny it.
I was resistant first because it was so different, but I think that's why it won me over. They didn't do the same idiot duo. I mean, they're dumb, but they're not the two, powerhouses that can only be foiled by the fact that they're dumber than dirt. I like Bebop being so smooth and funny and being a tech guy. It's neat. It's different.
They have a really good dynamic together, I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
They bounce off each other really well. Especially Bebop, because he bounces around everywhere.
It's part of the reason why when I wrote for the comic tie-in with IDW, the story I pitched was focusing on the villains because they're so much more fun to write.
Yeah, the villains are a lot of fun, actually. I do like Razar, but it's kind of weird how they made Toka completely separate and different, so you don't have the duo Toka and Razar. But that's okay. I'm just glad they seem to acknowledge every part of the previous continuities. It's like they're even like, okay, we're going to take Toka and Razar and we're going to put them in this show because, well, they existed at one point, so we're going to make them exist again. The show's just a really great big love letter to all the previous versions of TMNT. It really feels like. They just haven't brought back in Venus de Milo yet, but that's okay.
She did get a minor shout out.
She did.
And that's probably all we ever need.
Yeah. Yeah, I know she's not really a big fan favorite, but that's kind of, so I wasn't really expecting her to show up, but yeah, it really does feel like it's a very much a fan service based show, but it does it in a way that is not necessarily overt to people who don't necessarily know the previous continuities or the previous incarnations. Yeah. Of the Turtles. So they make it work, but if you do know the previous incarnations of the Turtles, then you're like, ha, I see what you did there. You're awesome. Thank you.
So if you have somehow not seen the show over the past 5 years and have not been completely spoiled by our discussion, check it out. It is definitely worth a watch. this is the last season, so I feel like I want more of a overall direction, but at the same time, if what they're going to do is a number of contained stories that just have fun with the characters, I'm fine with that too. The recent story arc with Tiger Claw summoning Mark Hamill, and I know there's a dragon and he's got his name. It's Mark Hamill.
It's Mark Hamill.
And all that. It didn't feel like it was going anywhere specifically, but it felt more like the early seasons. These are the characters interacting in ways that I enjoy. I'll take that over the fluff that was the space arc.
Yeah. It's more of an anthology series, and I kind of like that self-contained, like, little story chunks that it seems like they're doing. I think they're supposed to be connected, though, so they're going to still have some sort of continuity going between them, but it's going to be a little bit more self-contained story arcs going forward. You know, kind of like how Sonic Universe is written, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I guess we'll see how that goes, but they renamed it Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles now, which is a shout out to the old anthology Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics. Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I should say. So I think that's more what they're going for now. It's another little shout out for older fans who know what the Tales of tag means. So, but it still makes sense. And I'm really enjoying it so far, too. I was kind of weirded out that they were bringing back Shredder so soon after offing him, but they kind of wrapped that up nicely, so I won't spoil that too much, but they do wrap it up nicely, so it makes sense.
And it gave the Turtles an opportunity at closure that they missed due to circumstances in the last season. So that much I'll go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have exhausted this topic for now.
But you know what we haven't exhausted? Q&A.
Nope, not yet. We're working on it.
First, we're going to do the priority Q&A, which is from our patrons over at patreon.com/BumbleKast. If you have a question for me or Kyle and you want it answered right now, head on over, drop some money our way, and we'll get to it immediately. Otherwise, those questions go into a queue, and we get to them as we can. So, let's start off with that priority Q&A.
All right. Don't forget that you can also ask your questions to us on Twitter at KyleJCRB or at IanFlynnBKC using the hashtag BumbleKast. You can email us at BumbleKast@yahoo.com, or you can leave your messages or comments over on the Patreon. Anywhere you post there, I will generally see it and make sure to make a note of it. So, first up from the Patreon priority Q&A, we have one from Chris A. Are the pre-SGW and post-SGW Sonic the same person or two different people in different continuities?
For the sake of the story and potentially legal reasons, let's just say that they're two separate entities. I do know that you can argue that it is the one Sonic from one to another, but we're going to say that with the Genesis wave, with Worlds Collide onward, we're looking at that Sonic. And because of the wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff, he had the old memories. But basically, for all intents and purposes, they're reboot Sonic, post-reboot Sonic. I just think it's simpler that way.
It's a new Sonic. Don't worry, though. He's still got green eyes. This next question comes from Sam Cybercut. Are there any indie games you'd like to write a comic version of if you were given the chance?
Shovel Knight.
Okay, good. I'm glad that was the first one you mentioned, because if you didn't, I would have had to mention it for you.
I'm sure there is. Thing is, I don't have a ton of time to play games in general, and I haven't played a ton of indie games, mostly because indie games are primarily on the PC, and my PC can't run crap. So...
Are you calling FTL crap?
No. I almost said you can't write a story with FTL, but I could probably very easily write FTL. So
I was going to say, you could do that.
So pretty much, if a game has a story, even if it is minute, like you are a bad enough dude to rescue the president, I'm sure I could spin a story out of it, and I would love to do so.
You need to write a bad dude's comic. I mean, sure, it would just be Double Dragon, but come on. I'm looking at a list of indie games right now, and apparently American Truck Simulator is an indie game, which is true. It makes sense. You could write a story about a comic about that.
About a man just trying to make his way through the world.
I'm sure
by that pesky devil.
Yes. I'm sure you did. I'm sure that has been done, actually. Like a truck driving comic? Is it USA 1 was like a truck driving superhero or something?
Oh, shoot, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called, USA 1 or something. Yeah, that would be... that would be interesting. I could see a Crypt of the Necrodancer comic.
I don't know a ton about that one, other than it's hugely popular, so it's probably good. So
it's very good. You wouldn't have the rhythm. You wouldn't. I don't know how much you'd be able to adapt the rhythm game part of it so much, but dungeon crawling, the dungeon crawling part of it wouldn't be a problem. A Double Dragon Neon comic would be awesome and would make perfect sense given its 80s aesthetic. So yeah, that would be fun. And next question comes from Mike B. Would you be able to tell us exactly what happened when you guys had to reboot the comic and why John Gray said that you needed to fight to keep the freedom fighters in the new continuity?
I don't know how many specifics I can get into because, here's something that folks don't seem to understand. I think we're going to be coming back to that with later questions, is there is private talk between businesses that remains private because it's business talk. And we don't really let it out because it becomes huge talking points online and it just becomes a headache. With the reboot, there were a lot of circumstances, and my ultimate goal was to keep the feel of the old style of stories while doing something that was more faithful to the games. Because ultimately, that's where I was taking the book anyway.
Right.
And this was just the fast forward button. The issue with the Freedom Fighters is that they are from an old, defunct spin-off from the franchise. They're not really considered high-value properties, I guess, in terms of the overall franchise. Because as much as you may love Sad I Am, it doesn't really reflect what Sonic is. Not now and not for a while.
Right.
So Sega wants anything representing their product to be clearly representative of that product. Having stuff that diverges from that is not good. That said, they have given us an extremely large amount of creative license with this series, even post-reboot. So we've done what we could to keep the Freedom Fighters relevant and in theme. They are kind of contractually allowed to maintain their presence in the book because they were grandfathered in, because the original contracts were based off of the old Deke cartoons.
Right.
But at any given point, because it is Sega's property, they could say, you know what, we don't want them anymore. Give them the boot. And I would have to, because that's just the way it is. But at the same time, as long as they are not, I guess, overshadowing the main property, if they're more of a supportive element, nobody seems to mind.
Yeah.
That could change tomorrow and then be reversed the next day. Comics are not a straightforward business, folks. You think it's just let's make comics. It's not. It really isn't.
Especially when you're not doing creator-owned stuff where, you can have the license. The licensor could do anything they want at any time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a touch and go thing.
The problem with creator-owned stuff is, with a licensor, you have pretty clear guidelines.
Sure.
And with an established publisher, you have a dedicated team, you have distribution, you have a marketing team. there's an indie book I'm working on right now, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, that has gone through 3 rewrites at this point because I keep second guessing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure everything's right before we get going because I don't want to have to go back and revise everything as it's going on. But at the same time, I wanted this book out like last year, and it hasn't because I keep revising and fine-tuning, like, no, that's no good, let's try it again. It's like, okay, no, we need to get this done, we need to get this out, otherwise it's never going to go out. So maybe by the end of the year, we'll see.
I hope so. And finally, the last priority Q&A question comes from none other than our good buddy Fancy Fool.
What up, Fancy Fool?
If you had written for the Sonic comics from the very beginning and no other writers were present, how do you think you would have handled things? Well, you would have been like 10 years old.
I was going to say, that's not a very fair question because, I would be 10.
Was I actually right on the age? I was just guessing, really. I mean, I kind of estimated. It was a lucky
in the
guess.
90s, yeah, I would have been around 10, 12, preteen.
Yeah. I knew you were a couple of years older than me, so I knew. I was like, okay, I'd probably estimate about 10, maybe. Because it was like 92, so maybe 10.
Like I said, it'd be 10. A lot of what I wrote for the series was based on the context of what had come before.
Right.
And when the book first came out, a comic like Sonic had never happened before, and honestly really hasn't happened since, except for Mega Man, but that's something else. The idea of having a tie-in licensed book to support something else, having such longevity, is really bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
So that is part of the context that I came into, is that this is such a unique type of book that if going into it blind in the 90s, you wouldn't have that context. Nobody would have had that context.
Yeah.
So now if you want to say I've magically transported myself back in time and weaseled my way into being the sole writer for the Sonic book, knowing everything that is to come, I would probably do it in such a way that, expound upon the Genesis stories in a light sort of way, kind of Mega Drive-y, and try to anticipate and prepare for the transition to the adventure style and make the whole thing feel as cohesive as possible as time goes on.
Yeah.
That's a very, very big fantasy answer, but,
I would agree with you that they really, I guess they didn't seem sure of the longevity of this book at the beginning, which makes sense because everything was very much a self-contained story. It was kind of played for comedy. It's kind of like an Archie-esque take on it.
There's also the fact that, the company philosophies, both Sega of Japan and Sega of America, and how well they worked together, that changed over the years. And that would have influenced how the book was written and approved and whatnot. So,
man, that changed considerably over time. It's, yeah.
So there's no real way to say, what I would have done because I barely have my hands on the steering wheel as it is.
Sega keeps trying to wrestle it away from you, dang it. Oh, man, those jerks. We love you, Sega.
We do.
All right, and that does it for the priority Q&A for this week's episode. But next, we got some standard Q&A for you guys. This one comes from Dark Pit 06. If Lost Hedgehog Tales was any indication, was that Felidae Legionnaire Hershey?
Yeah, that was Hershey. I had big plans for Hershey.
Poor Hershey.
They went away. They went very away.
That's mean. I liked Hershey.
Why?
Sometimes. It's like early on she was okay. I don't know. It's just weird. Anyway. Maybe it's just nostalgia.
I think it's the nostalgia.
It might be. Anyway, Eliger BR7 asks, Will you be incorporating the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog characters, the Bears, as a quick reference or mainstays in the cast?
I honestly looked at them, and I'm not quite sure how I would use them in a meaningful way. You know, any of the Adventures of characters, if I'm going to bring them in, I want them to have a purpose. You know, Breezy is a powerful, semi-villainous role.
I love Breezy.
Scratch Grounder Coconuts are there to be, you know, the fun lackeys to the larger antagonist. What's his name? Von Schlemmer is there to be the Doc Brown to Silver, the mentor, the exposition dumper, and that sort of thing. The Bears, I don't know. When I was looking at them, it's like there's not a ton to go off of because they're basically, I think it's a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, they're a ripoff of a Saturday Night Live.
Right,
joke.
So there's not a lot of substance to them. So I could probably make something of them, but at that point I'm making new characters anyway, so why not just make something new?
It was this really weird kind of adult reference in the middle of a kid's show, which normally is fine, but Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was just like off the rails weird, so
it was.
I don't know exactly what they were going for with the Bears, but oh well. And finally, from Retro Ware Otter, sorry to keep asking this, but do you know what is happening to the Sonic comics?
I appreciate that you apologize, because I've been getting this nonstop for months.
Jeez, you think?
What's going on with the comic? Well, as Archie has said on Twitter, on bleedingcool.com, on other venues, they're in talks with Sega about the future of the book. And that's it. They're in talks, and when a decision is made, we'll all find out. Patience. Patience, Grasshopper.
Yes.
There you go.
And you're keeping busy because I know you can't necessarily announce everything yet, but you do have a lot of stuff going on. And of course, we have the BumbleKast to help us out and the fine patrons.
Yes, indeed. If you are an ardent fan of the books and really want to support the people who produce them, we pretty much all have Patreons. There's me on the BumbleKast with Kyle. Tracy Yardley has one. Matt Herms has one. I'm pretty sure Adam Bryce Thomas has one. If not, I should bug him to make one.
I think he does, but he also does commissions. So
he does commissions. Jen Hernandez does commissions. I think Ryan Jampol's got tons of work too right now, so he's good. But even some of the folks who don't have patrons, the older veteran folks like Jim Amish, they sell pages. You can support us, especially with BumbleKast, because it's only like at a minimum $4 a month. You're not spending it on a Sonic comic.
No,
might as well throw it our way.
It's a minimum of $1 a month if you set a limit for $1 for one episode a month. So yeah,
it wouldn't take a lot of followers to actually make this our day job. Both of us.
Right.
So, I mean, we live cheap. I enjoy ramen.
Yeah, that's fine. And I would like to do more stuff. I think we both like to do more stuff.
Sure.
We have a lot of ideas that we've talked about. We just don't have the time to execute them all because we've still got day jobs.
So I think that's going to wrap us up for the BumbleKast. Anything else from you, Kyle?
Nope, not at this point.
All right, we're going to give a big shout out to all the patrons who make this show possible. Thank you so much for your continued support, everybody. Big shout out to Daniel H., Zephyr Flame, Shab LS, Chris A., Damo, John B., Sam Cybercat, Deus Miles, Mike B., Fancy Fool, Connell T., Samuel B., Justin G., Jennifer R., Diane W., Dawn B., Clifton H., Andrew F., Frobman, congratulations again, Candy, for now, John M., S. Yarodovich 9X, Alex P., and James K.
There's some new names in there. That's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yes. You're all of you are excellent, whether you're a new name or a long time name. We love you. Thank you very much.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for this show. If you want to follow what I'm doing, head over to bumbleking.com or find me at Twitter at IanFlynnBKC. And you can join me and Kyle every Friday for BumbleKast Gaming Live for patrons only.
Or you can, well, and actually, not or. You don't have to make the choice here. And you can find me at KyleJCRB on Twitter, over at kngi.org, where you can find archived episodes of this show and many, many more, including Nitro Game Injection, streaming live every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 8BitX. You may remember I was saying it was Game Fuel that I was doing on Saturdays at that time, but I've basically consolidated everything, and now I'm back to doing Nitro Game Injection, regardless of however many co-hosts I have on the show or whatever. It's just all NGI now. I figured that made a little bit more sense and was a bit more easier to follow, and I figured it was kind of silly for the flagship show of the KNGI network to always be on extended breaks. So, there we go. Nitro Game Injection. It's back. 7 p.m.
Yay!
7 p.m. Eastern Time on 8bitx.com. Maybe Ian will be on there one of these days. We'll figure something out.
Yeah, sure. I can talk to him. I know him.
Yes, you know Nitro Game Injection. He's a good guy.
And he's a bad enough dude to rescue the president.
Well, it depends on the president.
We're not getting political on the show. We're not getting political on the show. Even if it's common bloody sense. That's it for episode 43. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next in 2 weeks and stuff. Bye!
We never even specified the president. We never even specified the country. It could be any president. It could be a president of a company. You don't know. If Lost Hedgehog Tales was any indication, what Felidae Legionnaire was Hershey? Oops. Oh man, is that Felidae? Felidae. Okay. I feel a die coming on now.
We're almost done. You can make it.
I'm good. I'm just like I just completely botched that question and now I'm just like
Hi there, and thanks for listening to the BumbleKast. If you liked our show, be sure to hit the subscribe button and consider supporting us on Patreon. We have some great rewards as well as big plans on how to make the show even better. Also, rate and review our show on iTunes. It gets more folks listening and helps us out, so we definitely appreciate it. Original music composed by Ken Coda Snyder, used with permission. Find more of his music at bc.s3m.us and find the theme song at noisechanradio.bandcamp.com, available as a pay-what-you-want download. And this is why I let you handle it, because that was all a bunch of words.
Ah, yes, you're welcome. I'm glad. I'm glad I was able to give you words to enjoy. I hope you enjoyed them. I'm tired.
I can tell.
Hey.